Hey guys, it's Friday before Labor Day, and it's time for a quick legal tip on getting you paid in a FSBO and how that's dealt with sometimes in contracts. But before we hit on that, I have the big favor to ask of you. As you can see from our banner up there, Blair Cato has 3 years in a row been named the state's best law firm by the state newspaper readers, and it's that time to vote again now. So we would love for you to go below and show your support for this video series by clicking on the link for the state's best and vote for Blair Cato for the best law firm. And if you would do that, it would really show us how much you enjoy these videos, and we would greatly appreciate it. You can vote every single day. And I believe it's next week. It ends next Friday. But if you'll go ahead and vote every day for Blair Cato, it says you have to vote for 30 different categories. But I found that basically if you vote for one, it takes your vote. So we'd really greatly appreciate it if you do that. Now, as we get into this, let's talk a little bit about the commissions with FSBO. So what FSBO is, obviously, is for sale by owner. So the situation is you have a seller that has a house for sale by owner. You represent a buyer. You are under agency, and your buyer goes to buy that house, and they want you to write in the contract between the buyer and seller that the seller is going to pay you a 3% commission. So let's talk about that for a minute, because what happens often is that's written in the contract, and then the seller afterwards says, they can't make me pay their commission. I'm not paying that. I don't have anything in writing with that agent. So let's examine why that actually is not going to be a true for the seller. So first of all, when you represent a buyer under agency, you are under a contract or agency agreement that says with the buyer that if you find them a house, that they will pay you a commission if the listing agent doesn't pay you or the seller doesn't pay you. And typically there's a box for you to write in 3% or whatever percentage, 4%, 2%, whatever percentage you want. And so what that means is if you do a closing and that the listing agent shares a portion of your commission, then the buyer doesn't have to pay you because the contract says you've received through share of commission with a listing agent. But it does say if you don't get paid, then you get paid through the buyer's effort. So the buyer would have to pay you. So what they're doing in the contract is the buyer and the seller are agreeing contractually to say, hey, the buyer saying, hey, I owe this agent here 3% or 4% or 2% for helping me find your house. I'm responsible for paying that. I would like you to pay it in order for me to buy your house. And the seller is agreeing to do that by entering into the contract. So it is a valid contract provision because the two parties, the buyer and the seller, are in fact agreeing to that in writing, that the seller will pay for buyer's expense of the real estate agent. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. A lot of attorneys and agents seem to think, well, the agent's not part of the contract, so they can't bind the seller. The agent's not party of it. You're correct. But the agent's not binding the seller. The buyer is binding the seller because the buyer is the one who has to pay it if the seller doesn't. So what I suggest you do in paragraph 18 is actually go into paragraph 18 and actually expand on that a little bit. And what I would do is say that the buyer and seller agree that the buyer is under an agency agreement with agent so-and-so, and that buyer owes 3%, 4%, 2%, whatever to this agent for their assistance in helping buyer find the house. Seller has agreed as part of this contract to pay that percentage fee on behalf of the buyer. I think if we do that, that takes out any complaint, any misunderstanding about it, and that gets done. Now, the other thing I think we should also be doing, also would probably help you a lot, is to have the one-time showing form signed by the seller. Just make sure we're clear, though, that the sellers, if they agree to do that and pay you a percentage, that's not in addition to the buyer's percentage. So make sure that that's very clear in the contract. So hopefully that will help you guys out. I hope you have a wonderful holiday, and please vote and vote often below. Thanks.